Hey, Bryn, I really enjoyed your presentation, especially how clearly you laid out your project timeline and the structure behind your cabbage medication initiative. What stood out to me most was how you described your leadership style and how you see yourself functioning within the project. First, I want to talk about leadership style. One thing I'd offer for consideration is the distinction between how we view ourselves as leaders and the role we actually need to play within a specific project. In healthcare, leadership is often situational. Just to level set on the leadership styles, and this will become clear why I'm bringing them up in a moment. You have approaches like autocratic leadership, which can be effective in urgent or high-risk situations where quick and decisive action is needed. You have democratic leadership, which brings in team input and collaboration to improve engagement and decision quality. Laissez-faire leadership, which works well when teams are highly skilled and can operate independently, as long as expectations are clear. And transformational leadership, which helps drive long-term change by aligning teams around a shared vision and improving outcomes over time. The key is not choosing one style, but knowing when to apply each one. And just as important, the role you take on in a project does not define your leadership style as a whole. It just reflects what is needed in that situation. The reason I make this point is that the role you're assuming in the cabbage program is a leadership role, but it doesn't define your leadership style. It reflects what is required to drive the program forward. Next, let me say a few words about leading people. You also mentioned that giving feedback is challenging. Over time, with having structure, clear expectations, education of associates, and accountability well defined, it becomes less personal and it becomes more necessary. Next, let me share some insights about your leadership and work plan. Looking at your project overall, I assume there's a strong business case behind the program. Leadership starts with grounding work in a clear model, operational plan, and good measurable outcomes. Before leadership style comes into play, there must be clarity around the program, organizational impact, and how success is measured. Transitioning over to more specifically about your work plan, there may be an opportunity to strengthen how your dashboard in the work plan translates into operational governance. You've outlined reporting well, but the key question is how the data drives action. Some of that is reflected in your intervention phase and how you introduce metrics, but perhaps making it explicit would strengthen your approach. For example, what happens when a metric falls outside of expectations? Who acts? How is it reinforced? Because success isn't just about data, it's about embedding it into governance and decision making. Finally, as you think about your presentation in a few weeks, you are clearly a subject matter expert, but consider shifting into a leadership persona. For example, what if you were a chief nursing officer and presenting to a hospital board? Would you lead with more outcomes? Would you position the approach as scalable across clinical areas as part of a continuous improvement program? That shift from explaining the work to leading the work may elevate your presentation. And let me close with this. Leadership is not something we're born with. It's a skill that must be continuously developed, especially when responsible for others. Bryn, one final thought. And this is thinking about your career post this program. People are rarely asked to step into leadership. It usually comes through formal roles that you choose to pursue. I say that because I see a lot of potential in you. Sometimes leadership isn't about being invited. It's about recognizing you're ready and stepping forward. Great work. I'm looking forward to seeing your final presentation, and congratulations. It was a great presentation this week. I really enjoyed your overview and work plan. Thank you.